Hello, I'm Gareth Mitchell, and this is our World Technology Programme Click. Today, mesh networking in remote coastal Canada. For this, and probably the rest of the programme, we're going to the remote town of Rigolet, which is a small community up in the northeastern tip of Canada. Population 306, number of houses 100. The town's website says exquisite scenery, along with a warm-hearted community, equals an incredible place to live and or visit. But the world's southernmost Inuit community faces some pretty serious environmental challenges, and that's why the people there are working with a platform called RightMesh to address some of the issues. So fasten your seatbelts, we're going to talk about mesh networking and even blockchain if we have time. Let's hear from Jason Ernst, who's CTO at RightMesh, and we also have Dan Gillis, who is with the University of Guelph in Canada. And I think we better start with you, Jason, just to tell us what RightMesh is. What is it?
Yeah, so RightMesh is a mobile mesh networking platform, which means that instead of connecting through cell phones to send a message to somebody beside you, you actually go from phone to phone to phone using Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and Wi-Fi direct types of technologies so that you can send messages to people without using the internet necessarily.
Right, so that's the whole idea of mesh. And of course, there are lots of different technologies for achieving like some kind of ad hoc mesh network. And it just happens that RightMesh is a platform that allows people to do that, which takes us to Rigolet then. So what was the use case, the motivation for taking RightMesh into this remote community?
In particular in Rigolet, but also in Canada's north, a lot of the population is without cell access, and internet access is quite limited. So one of the problems that the community was having was in response to climate change. They wanted to collect data on the environment and health. And so we've been working with the community to develop a mobile application that they could take out on the land to help them collect the information they need. The challenge, though, with no cellular signal and no or really spotty internet is that sharing that information and making it useful in real time is pretty much not possible. And so the RightMesh technology really seemed to be the platform that would help us out.
Right, so just trying to get a sense then of the practicality of this then. It's a community that wants to share information and, for instance, there might be, they use the river as an important means of transport during the winter because it freezes over. Is it just that residents might go and gather data from the river about the thickness of the ice, that kind of thing? I'm just trying to get an idea of what exactly is going on.
Yeah, absolutely. The safety has become a really a serious concern in the community and across the north because a lot of the ice roads that traditionally would be used for hunting and connecting the community to the country food and such that they need to survive, they're no longer safe to travel on. And so that's part of it. But there's also the element of wanting to be able to collect information in the summer, given the changing environment, capturing their traditional knowledge and all that sort of thing. So there's a lot of factors affecting this, but the safety concerns are paramount.
Right, Jason, we're talking about a population of just over 300 people. So are pretty much all of them kind of connecting and meshing together their phones in this way?
So that's the ultimate goal of the project right now is to connect the entire town. Right now, we're still in sort of the pilot stages. So at the start, we would go out there and see if we could actually connect the whole town. And we did that with some simple apps that would send messages across the town. So eventually, it's going to be worked into this eNuk app that Dan and the University of Guelph have been developing. And the ultimate goal there will be instead of having to send everything up to the internet and back, it will be able to be sent directly to people along the town with RightMesh.
Okay, so Dan, let's just hear about this eNuk app then. So it's just a way, you literally just put the application on your phone and it worries about the whole connectivity thing. It will just allow that mesh network to happen so these people can communicate.
Yeah, absolutely. The community identified the need to create the app and have been co-creating it with us to help them collect the health and environmental data that they're interested in. But yeah, in order to actually make this useful for the community, we want to make it as simple as possible so that there's no extra steps involved with getting the data from one phone to another. And the RightMesh platform is perfect for that because it's set up in such a way that if it's integrated in the app, just becomes part of it, so the users don't have to do anything special.
Right, so you almost like set up like a mini mobile internet spontaneously in the town using this app, and you're kind of using each phone as like a bunny hopping device, you know. So imagine that me and Kate Harkless Gray live in the town and we're on opposite sides of the town, and you're our neighbours in between. Then, you know, my phone could hop to your phone, to Jason's phone, and then back over to Kate's phone. It's that kind of thing, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
And the app makes all that happen. So, Kate Harkless Gray, listening intently to that, what do you make of this whole mesh idea?
I think it's really fascinating, but for a town that, I mean, I don't know how spread out it is with just 100 houses, but it almost seems like a very complicated way of getting information to people. So, I mean, like, for years in the UK, if the water's not safe, they put a red flag on the beach and everyone can just look up and see the flag tells you the water's not safe. So is there not a simpler way of doing?
No, because it's only a small place, isn't it? And don't they all just kind of hang out in the local, you know, village shop or in the, I don't know, in the bar or something? Why do you need the mesh?
From the point of view of the... Oh, go ahead, Jay.
Oh, I was just going to mention that when we were at the school there showing them how RightMesh works, the thing that really stuck out to me was that they don't have the same things we have in terms of like text messaging, for example. And they were really excited about the idea to be able to send text messages to each other across town. So, I mean, we can use it for collecting data and things like that. But I mean, even some of the simple things with the internet now that we take for granted, I think they're also excited about that.
Right, okay, and we've only been on air for about 6 minutes, but already we have to get blockchain into the conversation. It's almost the rule these days, because this is quite important, because obviously you need to incentivize people to use up capacity on their mobile phone, to get involved in the whole data sharing, and of course they all care about their community. But one thing about blockchain, which of course is the technology that underpins the cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, is it comes inherent with it, or brings with it, the possibility of smart contracts and abilities for people to communicate with each other, or not to communicate with each other, and of course to exchange value. Talk me through how blockchain is part of this idea.
So part of the mission of RightMesh is not only to bring connectivity to the next billion users, it's also to bring 100 million out of poverty. And really the way that we think we can enable this is to do the incentivization on the mesh. So for example, if you're a person who has a cell phone plan and you want to share your data into the mesh, that's where the cryptocurrency comes in. You can set a price that you're willing to sell your data into the mesh, and then all the people between you and the person who actually consumes the data get some reward in terms of cryptocurrency tokens.
Right, which is really kind of turning, I suppose, more traditional business models on its head. You know, the idea that we pay for our social networking and our search by, if you like, forfeiting some of our data, and we get value in return from our, you know, social media or what have you. This is another way of a community, like this case, Rigolet, kind of owning their data in a way, and blockchain gives them a mechanism for redeeming value and exchanging value from that data.
Yeah, exactly. So it could be the data itself, it could be the temporary storage of the data along the path, or it could be even distributing content into this type of a network.
Okay, and just before we leave it, where next then? Where's this project going? What do you hope it'll achieve?
I mean, ideally, our target markets for it are places like India and Bangladesh, and places where internet's still very expensive and the infrastructure that exists isn't very good necessarily. So like I said, our goal is really to connect the next billion people with this type of technology, and almost create an alternative to the internet in some ways.
Okay. Well, there we will leave it. Thank you so much indeed for joining us. That's Jason, Ernst and Dan Gillis talking to us here on Click from the BBC in London. I'm Gareth Mitchell, and we have Kate Harkless Gray in the studio as well.